Hi, my name is Paul Lima. I'm a freelance writer and business writing instructor. I teach a workshop called Harness the Business Writing Process. In this workshop, I demonstrate to your staff how they can become more effective and efficient business writers. I can customize this workshop for you and your staff. Why effective business writing, you might ask? I think everybody knows that writing enhances your credibility, both internally and externally with customers and suppliers. Also, writing is more important than ever. We're using email instead of making phone calls. We're using email instead of meetings. We're sending out PDFs and reports and that. So your business writing enhances your credibility, and it is more important than it's ever been. During the workshop, we have a full agenda, and again, the agenda is customizable to your particular writing needs. Generally speaking, I start with looking at the communication process, and then something I call AIAA, which is attention, interest, attitude, and action. We look at the writing process itself, and writing is a process, and I explain the process to people and why it's important to follow the process. Then I look at some brainstorming techniques, clustering, mind mapping, and that. Once we understand the process and the brainstorming, we start to apply the writing process to whatever it is you have to write. It could be email, it could be reports, it could be letters, could be web content, could be advertising content. So again, the course is customizable based on your needs. We look at things like tone, voice, how to become a concise writer. We look at sentence structure, structuring paragraphs, transitions, and again, we apply all of this to letters, reports, copywriting, writing for the web. And finally, in the end, we take a little look at punctuation and editing. Again, the course is fully customized to your needs. We look at what any document should do, why it needs to capture the reader's attention, hold the reader's interest, influence the reader's attitude before it asks for action. And for this, I use some examples from advertising. Every advertiser knows if you don't capture the attention of your reader, you can't hold their interest. If you don't hold their interest, you can't influence their attitude. And you influence their attitude by overcoming objections, giving them benefits, telling them consequences, whatever the case might be in terms of what's applicable to what you need to communicate. And you have to influence somebody's attitude before you can get them to take action. And then I demonstrate in the workshop how you clearly call for action. Who should do what, when, where, perhaps why, and sometimes how. So with that in mind, after we establish AIAA, we look at the writing process. And the writing process includes planning, where you think of your topic, what is it I'm writing about? You think of your audience, who am I writing for? What do they know? You think of your purpose, and that's particularly important. We spend some time on developing why you're writing, because if you don't know why you're writing, you're not going to be able to communicate effectively with the readers. And we'll look a little bit at scope and media as it's applicable to the kind of documents you want to produce. We touch very briefly on research, both internal and external. Again, that's generally something that the participants need to do on their own, but I just give them a few hints and clues around research. And then we spend some time on organization, brainstorming and outlining a document before you start. And generally at this point in the workshop, especially if it's an email writing workshop, the participants are thinking, gee, if I have to do all of that just to write a simple email, it's going to take me half a day to write an email message. So then I show them a shortcut, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. I call it the W5 shortcut for writing email messages. Once you've planned your document, conducted your research, and got organized, including doing the W5 or for longer documents, creating an outline, then you start to write. So we look at writing in terms of constructing sentences and paragraphs, and then we touch a little bit on revision, editing, and proofreading, and the importance of doing that. We do spend some time on knowing your audience, and one of the questions I ask about knowing your audience is what's the audience knowledge level? How much does the audience already know about the topic? What doesn't the audience know about the topic? And also, I have you ask yourself, what does the audience need to know? Sometimes you have to tell them some things they know, and you definitely have to tell them some things they don't know before you can influence their attitude. And again, as I said, if you don't influence their attitude, it becomes very difficult to get them to act. I also ask the participants to answer this question, what's in it for me? Not for me, the writer, but for me, the reader. In other words, I take a reader-centric approach to business writing. So your reader is asking, what's in it for me? Why should I do this? And so I explain why it's important to explain to the reader what the benefits are, or in some cases, the consequences. If you're writing advertising copy, you need to look at the demographics of your audience as well. And so if we're doing a copywriting workshop, we touch on that. And sometimes you have to understand what your reader's expectations are and decide if you should meet them, exceed them, or even dash them. Again, when it comes to planning, purpose is an important element, and I convey to the participants that you can have many purposes, but you really need to focus on one. Are you trying to sell now or sell later? And often I use sell in air quotes. You may not be trying to actually sell a product where you are trying to give somebody a product in exchange for money. You could be selling somebody on the idea of helping you out, of attending a meeting, of providing you with some information, of correcting a problem. So it's really important to know exactly what your purpose is. Are you trying to obtain permission to do something? Are you trying to educate the reader, inform them, create awareness? Are you trying to advocate for change, or any combination of that? So understanding your purpose is very important. Again, if you don't know what your purpose is, it's going to be hard to achieve it in your document. So after we talk about purpose, we look at the benefits of outlining and why you should outline your document, how outlining a document, even a simple email message, creates a roadmap that you can follow from beginning to end, how it provides logical structure, how it helps you write in manageable chunks, especially if you're writing longer documents. If you have an outline in front of you, you can look at it and say, well, is this logical? Do I have all the points covered? Maybe I should move this point up, this point down, eliminate this, add that point. You do all of that before you start to write, and then writing is simply a matter of writing from point A to B to C. And again, I demonstrate this with examples, and I get people in the workshop to do exercises to create outlines. And very often, as I've said, when people look at what you need to do to create an outline, they say, gee, if I have to do all this to write a simple email message, it's going to take me all day. I show the participants how answering the W5 questions, who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how, which is a W6 question, will help you plan. Who am I writing to? So you're thinking about your audience. What am I writing about? You're thinking about the topic. What action do I need? Where and when should it take place? And of course, why am I writing? Your purpose. Answering those questions lets you go through the entire writing process to the point of creating the outline. You literally take the points of your W5, who, what, where, when, and why, list them, put them in order, and then write your email message. And again, when I give exercises in class, people are quite surprised at how quickly they write their email messages and how much more effectively they do. So I give a couple of generic examples, and then I let people write email messages that are related to their business. Again, the whole point of the workshop is customizing it based on the kinds of documents that you have to produce. So if you have to produce email messages, that's what we focus on. If you have to produce letters, I show some letter examples, and then people get to write letters. If you have to produce reports or proposals, we look in more detail at how you create an outline. I use something that is called clustering or brainstorming that lets you get down on paper everything you want to write about before you begin to write about it. And then you take this cluster, which looks like a messy spider web on the page, and you take all the points and put them in logical order. So you create a linear outline. And again, you do that before you start to write. But in a 3-hour workshop, we can give you theory, we can give you writing exercises, and we can have you apply it to writing email messages and letters. A longer workshop is more appropriate if you want to write proposals and reports, if you want to write copy, promotional copy. Writing for the web can be done in a half day or a full day. What I'd like you to do, if you are interested in a workshop, is go to my website, www.paullima.com. That's www.paullima.com. And from my website, you can phone me, you can email me, you can look at examples of my writing, you can read about my writing workshops in greater detail. So I hope you found this information informative, and I look forward to hearing from you.